Hi, welcome to Coffee with Raymond. I'm Raymond, and this is my coffee cup. And it is, in fact, filled with a little bit of coffee this morning. So I'm still working on the eye contact thing with the camera. I have no idea how weird or not weird this is coming off. I have problems with eye contact anyways because, I'm autistic. And we're going to talk about that today because this week something very cool happened. Actually, a couple things really cool happened. The first is our campaign for the second printing of City of the Big Shoulders is wrapping up, and we have finished out the finalization of the rule book and all of the assets and translations. And I can take no credit for that at all. That is all Quinid, Raphael, Pedro, Eric, Kalman, everyone at Quinid, Arno. Thank you, folks, so much for treating City of the Big Shoulders, Chicago, 1875, second edition, so well. I'm really excited to see that released, and it's just really well done. So thank you. Second topic is this week. For those of you who don't know, I got a new job last year. So I've had almost a full year. And my manager, we did a performance review, and I got my comp review, and it is amazing. I got a really big bonus. And the reason this is so validating, right? I lead this team of high-performing engineers at a major institution. I am trusted in an organization where trust is key, okay? And I've been writing software for 18 years. I'm telling you all of this because the reason that I got a new job in May of last year is that in October, the year prior, I was fired for being autistic for like the third time in my career. And I wasn't just fired for being autistic. I was fired for defending somebody else who was autistic and was fired because they were autistic. This is quite common for autistic people to experience. We experience career instability. And in fact, fun fact, autistic people have the highest rate of unemployment in the country, period. 85% of college-educated autistic adults in America are unemployed or underemployed for their skill level. I am blessed. I lucked into a career. I'm autistic. I think in systems. Computers came naturally to me, and I came in at just the right time, and I latched onto it, and I've never been in it for the money. It's always been about the math and the complexity. I'm weird, and it helps my brain, and I find it deeply enjoyable. So I've lucked into this amazing career. But a lot of autistic people struggle. Most, in fact, struggle. They struggle every day to get a job. They struggle when they're in a job. They struggle because of the environment around them. They struggle because they don't have accommodations. They struggle because everyone around them gaslights them about their experience every day. So it's important for those of us with advantages and privileges in society to fight for other autistic people who are not. This is my personal belief. So October 2023, I'm working at a startup in Austin, Texas. I'm remote, and I'm leading a team of around 30 people. I'm the most senior engineer in this company. And by experience, I'm the most senior engineer in this company. By role and title, I'm right after the CTO in terms of technical ability, technical responsibility. Our director of engineering was out for 3 months for maternity leave. She has a new kid or had a new kid. And I filled in for her role. So I both managed the people side and I managed the technical side for 30 people, multiple projects for this period of time. So this is a high level role. I need you to understand this is a leadership role at a startup, a healthcare startup of all places. And I see a new leader come in who starts targeting and discriminating against neurodivergent people in the workplace, not just autistic people, but also ADHD people and anybody who questions them, right? I'm sure you've experienced difficult people at work, but there's one particular type of difficult person, and this is somebody who often will target autistic people or truth tellers in the workplace. Anybody who criticizes a vision or asks too many questions. The narcissist in the workplace who has to always be right, who can never be criticized. They hate autistic people, and they will zero, and neurodivergent, ADHD, it doesn't matter. They will zero into those people and they will target them. And I saw this happen with a few different women in the workplace with this one particular leader. And I'm going to name that leader now. His name is Steve Sanderson, and he is an ableist and a misogynist, and he has no place in technology. But anyways, Steve Sanderson comes in and he starts eliminating people from positions, and in particular women, and in particular neurodivergent women. And I saw this and I said, wait a second, this isn't okay. Like, why are these women being excluded from these meetings, right? Why are they, when they ask a question, why isn't the question being answered? Why are they being taken off calls, right? And I'm not getting clear answers to those things. And then in June, July, and I'm not really great with the dates, one of these women were fired on the basis of her disability, on her basis of being autistic. And I raised hell about it. I said, you know what? I'm not okay with this, and this should be investigated at the very least, and it's not okay, and we need accommodations, and we need training, and we need to stop this, right?
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for them.
It did not. It did not work out for me. I got fired, and not 2 weeks later, they fired my entire team. And they fired about 7 other people who were also, came to my defense. Basically, they fired this woman. I said, hey, wait, that doesn't make sense. They fired me. Other people came to my defense and said, wait a second, we love Ray. What are you doing? And then they fired them. And it was just, that was it. That was the end of it. So I decided to file with the EEOC, the Equal Opportunity Employment Commission, a charge of discrimination, and I decided to fight this. And what I found is pretty disturbing. What I found out is disturbing. And so this is a bit of a warning to the rest of the autistic community, and it's this. The ADA does not protect you. Let me explain. I reached out to every single attorney in Texas, every single employment lawyer that's part of TILA. TILA is the Texas Employment Lawyers Association. Reached out to every single employment attorney in Texas. And I reached out to almost every single employment and disability attorney in the state of Ohio, where I lived at the time. I paid multiple attorneys, multiple hundreds of dollars in order to review this case. No one would take it, not a single person. And the reason is there's sort of a kryptonite rebuttal that these companies use and they get away with. In the United States, the Adults with Disabilities Act has a special carve out for employers that states that if you hire a disabled person and they can't do their job because of their disability, then letting them go is not a fault of the business. And this sounds somewhat reasonable on the surface. Like if I hire somebody who is in a wheelchair and they can no longer do their functions of climbing ladders to put gutters on roofs, it doesn't make sense to employ that person in a job where they need to climb ladders and put gutters on the roof. Now, an empathetic business where this happens will say, you know what, this guy's been doing gutters for a long time. We need to put him in charge of dispatch. We need to have him in charge of managing the teams because they can recognize the experience of that person, but they're not going to ask that person to climb that ladder again, right? And if they can't find that role, or that person, for whatever reason, doesn't want any other role that would fit them at that company, then the right thing to do, reasonably, is to break things off. So it sounds reasonable on the surface. But here's the problem. I'm going to put this up on screen because I want you to read what the Helper Beast said about me in their rebuttal to the Equal Opportunity Commission when I submitted a complaint. I told this commission that's supposed to defend disabled people, I was a high-level employee. I've got all these screenshots. I've got all these chat logs. And all of this stuff happened. And I believe there's this discrimination happening against this woman. And I believe this discrimination happened against me. And I have all of this proof. And I have all of these receipts, EEOC. And so then they take that complaint. And then they take that to the business, wherever the complaint is. And the business hires an attorney or a group of attorneys. And they submit a rebuttal. I'm going to link to this PDF. I'm going to let you read what they said about me, right? And the reason I'm going to let you read what they said about me is because it is all lies. And I'll tell you a couple reasons why. One, every week I would have a meeting with multiple members of my team and I would ask for feedback. And I always ask the Roger Ebert question, is it 2 thumbs up? How am I doing? Is it 2 thumbs up? I always ask this question because I need explicit feedback, right? As an autistic person, implicit feedback is really hard, but explicit 2 thumbs up makes sense. And I got this every single week from the CTO and the director of engineering while she was there, and every other person I asked this feedback to. Occasionally, I would get negative feedback because in a position of leadership, you do get negative feedback. And I would respond to that and work with that because I want to be a good leader to the people that I'm supposed to lead. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how many glowing performance reviews that I had. It doesn't matter that I had a Discord full of former employees by my side who were willing to go to bat for me. It's pretty much established at this point. The fight is over. Without Congress, this is the law. And the law states it is 100% completely legal to discriminate against autistic people in the workplace. You can fire them at will at any moment. And if they say, hey, wait a second, I have direct evidence here that shows that this person is an ableist and isolated me from my team and targeted me and harassed me in the workplace. I have all of this direct evidence. It doesn't matter. Because in the United States, there's an exception in the ADA. And that exception says that if the employer has a good faith belief, and this good faith belief is important language, if that employer has a good faith belief that the person that they've employed, that person's disability prevents them from doing the essential functions of the job, then that employer cannot be discriminating against that employee. This is the legal argument. This is what the law says. And so I can have glowing performance reviews. I can have ally after ally come out of the woodwork and support me. I can have no incidences or any history of any sort of conflict or harm or any of that. And none of that matters because all the employer has to communicate is a belief. They don't even have to prove they're correct. That means that they can lie, and they do lie. This is what these people said about me, right, to the EEOC. This is the thing that they said about my ability to work. They say these horrible things about autistic people, and they buy into whatever ableism they can that sounds reasonable to a court. Because to a judge, they may not know about the intricacies of autism or autism in the workplace, but they read, employee had difficulty with communicating with their peers and also was not responding well to some types of feedback. Well, that sounds about typical for autistic people, doesn't it? Well, that's not discrimination again. That's just their disability. You know, you can't be faulted for that. They weren't a good fit for that role because of their disability. And so the employer gets out of taking any sort of responsibility for any sort of discrimination in the workplace. I am sure there are people that I've worked with previously who will say that, you know, they've had arguments with me, they've had bad experiences with me. I'm sure of it, right? We all have those experiences in the office. And as an autistic person, I've also experienced meltdowns and shutdowns. This is a thing that we experience. And sometimes when I have a meltdown, I need to hide away and be away from the social stuff so that I can decompress. And sometimes when I shut down and I'm not communicating, I need to shut down and I need to process before I come back to the situation. And in fact, when I started working at the Helper Bees, I even gave a whole presentation on autism to them. What is it like to be autistic? What is our experience like? What kind of discrimination do we experience, right? How can you help autistic people in the workplace? We had that discussion. I led that talk and I taught them that. And even after all of that, in the end, they said these things about me. And yet today, or not today, this week, I got a $10,000 bonus for performance. Go figure.